Welcome to Sometimes There's Side Eye, a podcast about two friends having real and unfiltered conversations about dogs and people. Listen as we talk about our lives with dogs, training, behavior, share some laughs, and a whole lot of banter. I'm Heather.
And I'm Christy. This episode is part of our sports series. If you haven't gone back and listened, we encourage you to start with episode 37 to get an introduction to dog sports. What are we talking about this week, Heather?
This week, we are going to talk about parkour.
Yeah, and what is parkour?
Okay, so there is human parkour, but we're talking about dog parkour today.
Right.
And dog
Good distinction.
Yes, dog parkour combines elements of human parkour and dog agility to create an accessible activity for dogs and humans alike. Basically, dog parkour is where you take your dog out into natural environments and you use different obstacles that you come across to do fun activities with them, like maybe jumping onto something, putting two paws onto something, going under, going around, all different skills that your dog might already know that you apply to natural elements in the environment. So, if we could give a couple examples, Christy, what are some things that you did that was parkour that you did with Lucy?
I did through, I did on, so 4 paws on, 2 paws on. I did under and over,
Mhm.
back up, around.
Using different obstacles. So I
Yes.
remember we did use playground equipment, which we can talk about a little bit, but you we did under a fallen tree. We did on.
So we actually used that tree for a lot of things, and it wasn't totally fallen, so if you're thinking like,
Oh
"How
yeah,
did they
flat on
get
the
under?"
ground.
Like, it's magic. No, there was a area that the dogs could go under, but they did have to kinda crawl under, so
Yeah.
under, and then we used that tree for over as
Mhm.
well, and then a 4 paws on.
Four paws on. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
and then a lot of playground equipment,
Mhm.
as well as you can set up a minimal amount of obstacles in your own yard.
Yes.
So I think I've set up a cone for a round, but I also used a stump that was in my
Mhm.
yard that I hadn't removed yet for a round and for 4 paws on as
Mhm.
well. So you can kind of get creative.
Yeah, and I know I've seen people use different things, like, you'll see those fitness courses that they'll make in different areas for humans, and I'll
Mhm.
see people use those fitness courses built with the logs and different things to do with different parkour exercises. I also came across was driving along a construction site where they hadn't started building yet, but they started putting different parts of equipment, and it was those massive concrete pipes,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I used one of those massive concrete pipes for 4 paws on for Tiago and had him get up on top of that, and then just for a cutesy picture, I put Tiago or Tater inside, which is really funny.
Adorable.
I also found a sign that had a hole in it that was really big, so I could put Tiago that was considered a through.
Mhm.
So just finding different things that are creative in your environment and doing different activities with your dogs with it. And this might sort of sound like an okay, what's the point of this? Or is this actually organized into something? And there is an International Dog Parkour Association.
Yes, so it
So
is an actual sport.
yes, it is an actual sport.
And one of the reasons I think I wanted to do parkour or talk about parkour as a sport on the sports series is because it's so accessible to
Yes.
everyone. So if you are going to title your dog, there are titles
Mhm,
available and we'll go through those, but they're only $25 per title. But I think more importantly, it gives you a creative outlet for
mhm,
you and your dog. It allows you some areas to train in
mm.
because not everybody has trained, up or paw, 2 paws, 4 paws, back up, those things. So it kind of gives you something to work towards, but all of the tricks are pretty accessible even
Mhm.
for newbie trainers
Yep.
or just somebody looking to just have fun with their dog. And it gives you a different perspective of your surroundings. So
Mhm.
instead of just going for a walk, now you're going for a walk with a jump over that tree and go around this obstacle and go under that bench. And it just becomes kind of something fun you can do at any time with your dog then.
Yeah, I actually got into parkour during COVID because, we had most people had like their little safe group of people that they were around that were kind of following the same restrictions that they were. They felt comfortable. And so I had like my little pod of people, and there was really not many people out and about in the world. And
Mhm.
so a friend of mine and I started doing parkour outside, which was a safer activity, to be outside. And we started doing parkour in these different parking lots and businesses. And we would go to universities and a fire station, all different areas.
Mhm.
And we would look for things that we could apply our parkour skills to. And we turned it into a really, really fun activity. And it's something that got us out of the house. It got us moving our bodies. It got us moving our dogs. And
Mhm.
it was positive, but easy. It didn't take any bandwidth to do this, right?
Yeah.
Because there's no stake in it. You're just having fun. You have like this list of things. Oh, I want to try to accomplish this stuff. And you just go out searching.
Mm.
And if you, like you said, if you're paying attention to your environment, I still to this day, I'll be driving somewhere and be like, damn, that would be really good for parkour.
Yeah.
And it's just a fun way to kind of get out and about, whether you do it by yourself with just you and your dog or with a group of people, and you're videoing each other and you're kind of, testing your skills. And I love the confidence that it builds in your dogs too, because they're doing this really fun activity with you and you're excited, you're praising them, you're getting all amped about it. And it's just such a fun, low pressure activity for you to do with your dog.
Yeah, and I think they deliberately make it low pressure
Mhm.
because they say they don't do it as a head-to-head
Yeah.
competition because they don't want dogs getting hurt, and so it does take off that pressure where you can just record your dog doing these tricks and doing this training and then submit that once
Mhm.
it's all compiled. So you're not having to do 17 tricks in a 5-minute period. Although, if you're good, by all means do that. But it doesn't have to be all together. And because
Yeah.
of the nature of it, because you need to do different things on different surfaces, things like that, it's designed so that you're not doing it all together necessarily.
Yeah.
So, which is fun. And you can get a group together and kind of travel from park to park or from
Mhm.
location to location. And so I just like that about the parkour.
Yeah, you're really just compile these tricks to make your title if that's what you decide to do, or just check them off your personal list. It's not about competing against someone else or competing against another team. And I agree. I really love that aspect of it. It was created by people who are very into fitness and parkour themselves, and they started realizing, hey, I could do this and incorporate it with our dogs.
Mhm.
And then they started doing that and created this whole sort of movement. I mean, there are groups on Facebook, there's all this, different stuff. And there are some people that are really, really into this sport. And I found out while researching for this episode that it started in 2014, but I never knew about it until
Mm-mm.
during COVID. And honestly, I probably heard about it on Facebook.
Yeah, and their presence, they do even say to find more information, Facebook is their
Mhm.
Facebook community is the place to go. And I will say that has is a very encouraging community as
Mhm.
well.
I
So
agree.
if you decide to do it and you're like, oh, I don't know if I quite nailed this trick, you can put your video out there and people constructively criticize or tell you, yeah, that, you know what, I'm a
It'll
judge, that will
qualify.
be totally fine. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. And one thing that I also like about parkour is they really are focused on keeping things safe. And
Mhm.
so they give very clear guidelines about, hey, if you're going to set out to do parkour with your dogs, these are the things that we've put in place for your dogs to remain safe. right, as safe as possible because we don't want dogs getting injured.
Right.
So they are very specific in their rules and it's all laid out on the website and it gives you very clear guidelines of how to go about this and keep your dog's overall health in mind when you're attempting these different skills.
Yeah, I will I will say definitely check the rules and check them twice. Heather and I both got
Yes.
disqualified for breaking rules on our novice,
Yeah, that's true.
submissions, me with
Yep.
Lucy and Heather with Tater. Yeah, so definitely check the rules, and some of the rules are things like your dog has to be wearing a harness for
Mhm.
certain tricks, which for Lucy and I was a little more difficult because she had that aversion to the harness. So we had to kind of reintroduce that. But she quickly learned that when the harness went on, it was pretty fun stuff we were doing. So,
Mm.
and it wasn't going to stay on for long.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's they don't want dogs jumping over their, shoulder height. They don't want dogs jumping on off onto really hard surfaces, things like that. Things that when you really think about what you're asking your dog to do are
Mhm.
common sense, and they just wanna make sure that the rules support in every way that they can to make sure dogs are as safe as possible.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I think I had Lucy launching off of way, way too high of things.
way
I
too
mean, that was
high.
who she was, she
Yeah.
just launched herself off of 6 foot, whatever. And Heather would be like, no, that's never going to qualify. Stop. Catch
Yeah.
your dog.
Yeah, yeah. Something else I did learn was that I started parkour when my boys were a little bit older. I think
Yeah.
they were around 4 years old, and so I never looked at it in the way of thinking about a younger dog, but I learned that your dog has to be at least 18 months old if you are going to go for that novice title. They have a training level that's for young baby dogs and dogs under 18 months to kind of get them started, but keeping that safety in mind, keeping their growing
Mhm.
bodies in mind. So if you're thinking, oh, maybe this is something I want to do, and your dog is a young puppy, then you just be looking at the training level. And then once they're 18 months old, then you can go and start looking at the other titles.
Yeah. And so the titles are novice to get started, and then intermediate, championship, and specialty. And the cool thing is you can go from novice to any other title.
Yeah.
You don't have to do novice intermediate championship or novice intermediate specialty. It can go from novice to wherever you want to take that. And I like even their specialty titles are very accessible to people. So, for example, they have a specialty that is just a four on, just meaning the dog puts four paws on a surface.
Hmm.
And so the specialty can be like their first category is you have to do 10 tricks with your dog putting four paws on. And then they give you a list of things you can choose from plastic, metal, stone, wood, man made, natural, uneven, slippery surfaces, soft surface. So you can just really go crazy with your
Hmm.
imagination on what you want to do. One thing to keep in mind is if you decide you want to kind of go up through the ranks, no trick can be repeated. So you
Yeah.
can't choose this really cool thing that you found at the playground and do that for your novice trick, and then do that for your specialty title, and then do that for your category two specialty and your
Hmm.
category three specialty. So you kind of have to think ahead a little bit of, okay, if I want to continue, I know that is a great obstacle, but I'm going to wait until maybe my category three.
Yep.
And even their category 3 for the 4 on is like narrow, tall, short, wide, tiny.
Yeah.
And that's so accessible. Like,
Yeah.
that is something that people can really do. And obviously, I chose kinda the what I thought would be the easiest, with the 4 on, but they have a variety of
Yeah.
specialties.
Yeah, of all the titles, I think Christy mentioned them all except for expert. Expert is the
Oh,
only
yes.
title that you have to make it through novice and intermediate to be able to do the expert title. So, and I don't see a lot of submissions on the parkour group for expert. That's like, oh, there are a lot of things that go into that title. But I agree. I think that the specialty titles are so much fun. And if you think about if you have a dog and you're like, "Oh, I really wanna focus on doing something to build their confidence and to build our relationship and to just connect with them," trying to figure out how to do 4 on for all different elements and, like, finding fun places to do that with, I love that, and it's very low risk for your dog. It's just you kind of getting creative and finding different ways to be able to go out and do that and do it successfully with them. So I do really love that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and if you have a dog like Lucy who just loved jumping on things for
Mhm.
literally no reason at all, she just wanted to jump on things. Like, that's a perfect,
Yeah.
specialty to get into.
Yeah. I mean, we don't call Trin Ping Ping for nothing.
I didn't know you called her Ping Ping.
We
That's
call her Ping
adorable.
Ping. Yeah, because she bounces around like she's in a video game.
It's
Yeah.
so cute.
So she jumps too.
Yeah.
I think
That's a good use.
I know, right? I think if I can channel some of that, we could have quite the little parkour dog there. Yeah.
Love it.
Okay, so let's say that you are thinking about doing parkour and you just have no idea where to start. The other cool thing that has started to come about recently, or at least more recently since I have been paying attention, is that there are parkour certified instructors out there and been starting to
Mhm.
see people actually doing classes. So
Yes.
if you are like, "Oh, this sounds really really cool, but I don't even know where to start," you can take a look at their website, which of course we'll link in the show notes, and you can look for certified instructors and look around for classes as well. And I think that they're even doing some online classes to kind of help guide people and help them try and figure out how to go about it with their dog.
Yeah, in case you're like, "But I'm in a remote area, everything's an hour, 5 hours away." It's still an option for you, and you can definitely do it at home. So I just kinda wanted to read off the tricks for the novice just so
Yeah.
people see, like, how accessible it is. You have to complete all of them, but it's 4 feet on, 2 feet on, a moving obstacle. I think I chose one of those spinny things at the park, or I can't remember if I did that or I made my dog put 2 paws on a swing
And
and
we
she
oh,
stayed
I
on it.
remember you did
Yeah,
that.
it was
And
very cute.
we did one of those bridges at a child's playground
Oh,
that's kinda
yeah.
like, that moves when you walk on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and so, like, the moving obstacle, they need to stay on that for, I think it's 3 seconds, and then under, there through, there's over, around, balance, waiting on an obstacle, and then a obstacle sequence, so you could take around, balance, and wait and put them together, and then creativity, so you're finding something, an obstacle that demonstrates 3 different parkour behaviors that you did before.
All on the
That's
same obstacle, right? For
all
creativity.
on the
Yeah.
same obstacle. I think that's what we
I
use
think
that
that's why
tree
we
for.
use
Yeah,
that tree for. Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Like
Mhm.
around, over, under. Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
On, yes. So, yeah, so I feel like that novice one is so accessible because most people have a lot of those basic skills. I think around was the biggest one to teach, and there's lots of YouTube videos on how to break that down. And I
Mhm.
just honestly, I watched a YouTube video. I think Heather sent me one that she found useful and just broke it down for Lucy. And she caught on pretty quick to that,
Mhm.
and while we were working on that, we were doing other options in the novice title, so.
Yep. One thing I will note is that you can't lure your dog into doing these things.
Oh, yes.
So, if you are thinking that this is something that you're really could be into, you want to start working on those skills at home to make sure that you have, say, your jump on, jump off, two paws on, those type of skills in the bank already taught so that are on a verbal cue so that you don't have to actually lure your dog into it. You can use treats, you can absolutely reward. You want to praise your dog, you can give them a treat when they're done, but you can't lure them onto or off of doing the different thing that you're
Mhm.
working on or the obstacle that you're doing. So I just wanted to note that. But I do, and we've talked so much in this series about how you can do these different activities with your dogs without thinking about titling. That's not important to you. It doesn't matter. And this is another one.
Mhm.
It very much to me goes in line with the trick training in that these are things that you can do easily, teach your dog at home, have fun with, and it's just another way for you to connect with your dog and build that relationship up.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll be honest, I suffer from being creative in my dog training. I'm like, "Yay, these 5 tricks that we've done a million times." And so having something like this where I'm like, "Oh, well, let's work," like, I wouldn't ever think to work over or under, but those are fun tricks for a dog to learn.
Mhm.
So why not learn those, you
Yep.
know? It gives you some structure to tricks that you can train as
Yeah,
well.
and you never know, you're teaching over and under because you wanna be creative in your training, and then a couple years down the road, you decide you do wanna do something like scent
Mhm.
work or something like barn hunt or whatever. You already have those skills that are honed and are really well trained with your dog, and those are skills that you use in different sports.
Yeah, and I will let y'all in on a little secret. When Lucy learned around, it was super useful because we were also implementing the long line and we got tangled around poles a lot. And I would just say, around, go around. And she's like, oh, okay, just go around like this.
One of
And
the
untangle herself.
I love go around so much, and I use it with Tiago because him being a big dog. So I'll be sitting
Mm,
on the couch and I have a dog to my right who might be little Mr. Grumpy Tater, and Tiago
yeah.
wants to come and sit with me, and he's on the same side as Tater, and the ottoman's in the way. What do I say? Go around. He will go around the ottoman, go to the opposite side of my body, and come up and lay with me.
Aw,
It's
this
very
is perfect.
useful. I know, it is.
It is a useful trick, though.
Yeah. So if you're looking for something super low stress, no cost, super fun, creative, that you can
Mhm.
do literally in your own neighborhood, parkour
Yes.
is the thing for you. If you want to build confidence in your dog, if you want to build a relationship, a stronger relationship with your dog, if you want to up your training game, be more creative in your training, this is the sport for you. You don't have to do your titles, but there's clear guidance just to give you goals and structure. And I say get out there and do it.
And if you're a ribbon hoarder, then do all the titles because they have some nice ribbons
Yeah,
too.
I mean, why not?
Yeah. Something for everyone.
I agree.
If you've enjoyed this episode, subscribe, rate, and share us wherever you get your podcasts. Also, come on over to Instagram and engage with us at Sometimes There's Side Eye.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Talk to you next time.
Bye.
Bye.